I think we're rolling.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's already 9:08. We already wasted 8 minutes. I prepared all week for this class, and you guys show up late. But seriously, I couldn't believe it. Oh. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that with my laptop. So what just happened? What did I just do?
You got frustrated.
I got frustrated.
You got angry.
That's what we're here to talk about today, frustration. So what else happened? What did you see happen when I just did that?
You
I got physical.
I saw low patience.
I'm sorry?
I saw low patience.
Low patience. I lost my patience. What else? I was very physical. How did I look? Did I look smart? Did I look like I was getting my point across?
You looked unclassy.
I look out of control. What else?
Unclassy, trashy.
Unclassy, trashy. I look silly.
Something that you couldn't control.
Yeah, out of control. It's like an animal, like a wild animal. It says that when someone becomes frustrated, you're like a blind animal. You have no control. You're just, I'm going to slam the door, I'm going to break the chair, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. You have no control over yourself. And a great way to cure frustration is if you look at the video after you're very angry, but normally we can't because we don't have videos of when we get frustrated. You look back like, I look so silly. What was I doing? I was out of control. I was slamming the door. What was I slamming the door for? I was angry because someone was late. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And obviously, after I act very, frustrated and I throw something around, and after I cool down, I'm like, oh man, I feel kind of silly. That was kind of ridiculous. You have some kind of regret. I feel stupid. You're embarrassed. So you're around the same people that saw what you did, you can be like, kind of walk like this because you're going to feel so embarrassed. So why do we become frustrated? That's one of the first things I want to talk about is the why. Why do we become frustrated? Anybody? Justin?
We become frustrated because some things are out of our control, and sometimes it's not in our control to decide how people are treating us.
Okay, out of control situation.
Yeah.
That's actually, I'm going to be talking about that specifically later. Out of control situation. Excellent. What else?
We have an image in our head of how a situation should play out.
Excellent.
And when it doesn't happen, there's a conflict.
There's an expectation. There's an expectation when you go into a restaurant. Right. So, for example, there's an expectation when you go into a restaurant. There's an expectation when you go into a restaurant. You order salad. It takes 7 minutes, 8 minutes. What happens when you ordered a cold salad? It's 14 minutes later. You get frustrated, right? So you have that expectation of that something should happen in a certain way. And when things don't go your way, you become frustrated. So it also has to do with expectation. Also a sense of entitlement. You feel you deserve something. Maybe you don't deserve it, but you feel that you do. You're like, I deserve to feel, I deserve this, I deserve that. You feel like, I should be getting this right now. Since I'm not getting it, I become frustrated and angry. Other things, you can talk about your ego, a lack of patience. If you run out of patience,
oh boy.
Run out of patience, you're working on a math problem. You can't figure it out.
Savlanut.
You can't figure out the math problem. You run out of patience, you take the book, throw it out the window. You tear it up, or you just say, I'm not done with math. You drop the course. Log on to your university website, drop the course immediately. So you can't figure out the problem. And also, when life should be fair, and you feel something is unfair, that's so unfair. Why is that happening? You feel that something is, just basically everything comes back to this original thing, that something's out of your control, and your expectation, something doesn't meet your expectation. So I just do want to write unfair. Something unfair is happening to you. So what are the consequences of frustration? It's also very important to understand, if you don't want to become frustrated, it's good to know what happens when you become frustrated. What are the downfalls of becoming frustrated? Anybody?
You act like someone you're not, and you look like an idiot sometimes.
Excellent.
Sure.
You act like somebody else. Like I said, like a wild animal. Oh. Meow. Meow. What else?
You think you take this godlike complex that I'm in charge of everything?
Okay.
Like you're like, I'm a deity, and why this this should be happening to me because I'm better than everyone else and I'm higher up than everyone. It's like it's an
Ego?
Ego trip.
Yep. Become an egomaniac.
Egomaniac.
You lose your reputation. Maybe people can't trust you anymore.
Okay. Reputation. You get angry a lot.
You don't get yourself done.
You're not accomplishing anything. But that's good. That's more of a general. You're just not going to be accomplishing anything. Now, what about specifically? Think about when you get frustrated and you do an action. What is the downfall of that action? For example, you're sitting in traffic on the highway, and you're not even in a rush anywhere. You just can't sit there. You start hitting the steering wheel. You're flipping off the guy next to you. You're honking your horn. So what do? That shoulder looks empty. I'm going to go drive on the shoulder. Right? So you're driving on the shoulder. You get a ticket. Or you're at a red light and you decide to go through anyway. Or you're doing a paper for school and you decide to plagiarize someone else's paper. Or you're taking a test at school and you're frustrated with the problem. You're like, I can't do this problem. You kind of, look at that guy's paper. That looks good to me. That looks good to me. Right?
We've all done that. Yeah.
Right? So you resort to doing unethical actions. You resort to doing something that you wouldn't normally do. Again, we already said something that you wouldn't normally do, but unethical actions. Something that even yourself, obviously ethics is not universal, but something that you would consider unethical, you'll resort to doing because you're frustrated. You'll do something also possibly illegal.
You lower your standards.
Exactly. You do something illegal, even. Like going through a red light, pulling a shoulder, maybe stealing some money because you're so frustrated with how much money you're making at your dead-end job. So you go and steal money from somebody, from family, friends, maybe even do something fast for show, rob a liquor store or something. Now what about,
No, you're making other people more afraid of you. So that it's like, you say, oh, this guy's good. Like, let's say you're a family, like you see like, wow, this guy's crazy, so you could try to keep distance,
Exactly. You see someone who gets angry all the time, you're like, just kind of back away from him because you're not afraid maybe he's going to get angry at you. Now what about, this is probably the most important thing that I want to talk about in terms of frustration, we're going to talk about later again, is when you give up on a problem or a project. Let's say you get one of those books that says learn Chinese in 4 weeks, or you want to go on, you buy a treadmill and you put it in your basement because you want to get in shape and lose some weight. So what happens? Anyone ever buy like the fitness weights to put in their house or something like that?
So,
The what?
the forearm one.
Oh, the forearm one. Yeah, I've seen that. I saw that at Staples. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So what happens after 2 weeks? It turns into a clothes hanger. You stop running. I don't. David probably not, but your fitness trainer and all. But most of us buy something like that. You end up giving up. You give up after 2 weeks.
Seen that?
So what are you losing when you give up on something that you were trying to do? What are you losing?
Shins. Savlanut.
Losing
You lose self-esteem.
Money you spend. Yeah, I'm looking for something.
Self-esteem?
Self-esteem. It's great. So when you give up on a problem, you lose your self-confidence and to be able to do that again in the future. So let's say you pick up a textbook, right? You want to learn some kind of material. You want to learn language. You decide, hey, I want to learn some biology, or I want to learn, about certain animals or something like that. Let's say after a week and a half you give up. The next time you want to pick up and learn something, you're like, nah, it's not going to happen. I got frustrated last time I took that book, threw it out the window. So you lose your self-confidence. You give in to being mediocre, saying, I don't have to learn all that. I'm happy with what I am. Which is a terrible thing. You're really selling yourself short because you can do something great, but it's just you have like this, this mental block. You're frustrated, so you gave up right away. Do you want to say something? So there's basically four different things that one can be frustrated at. First thing I want to talk about. You guys mind if I erase this?
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'm going to erase the Y. We talked about that already.
I could always get it from you.
So the first type of thing that you can be frustrated at, I want to talk about, is being frustrated at another person. This is something that we encounter on a daily basis. The example that I want to use is that let's say it's midnight on a Thursday, and the Harry Potter movie just comes out, and you want to see the midnight premiere, right? And so your friend's like, hey, I'm going to pick you up at 11:40. No, I actually got to get earlier. I'm going to pick you up at 11:20. You can go to the movie, get tickets and everything. Awesome. It's going to be a great time. You're looking really forward to seeing the movie.
Right.
It's 12 o'clock, and your friend's still not there, right? It's 40 minutes late. Pretty much going to miss the first 20 minutes of the movie. Maybe you might not even get the ticket, right? So pretty mad at him, pretty upset. So in this situation, when you're mad at another person, you should ask yourself a few questions.
Why am I friends with them?
That could be one. That could be one. If this is a behavior that keeps on being repeated, if this is a repeated behavior, maybe you shouldn't be friends with them. If it's possible. If he's late every single time and it bothers you every single time when you've talked to him about it, maybe you shouldn't be friends with him. It's a very valid point. So you're frustrated at someone else. Okay. Okay. First question is, maybe you shouldn't be upset. Should I be upset at that person?
No.
Maybe. I mean, in a practical level, you should. If he was like, maybe he overslept or just something silly, if there's no reason for him being late, you should be upset at him. But what maybe caused Sholem to get in a car accident? What if something happened that for some reason you couldn't make it? There's a really good reason for not being there. So, should I be mad at him? If that's the case, if you found out that he got in a car accident, would you still be mad at him for not showing up?
No.
No. So is it worth getting frustrated over it?
No.
No. Wouldn't make any sense. So, should I be mad? Should I be frustrated?
What if it was a valid reason?
If he was late for a valid reason?
Yeah.
Well, you don't know.
Not valid.
Okay, yeah. So obviously,
this
this is the first question, right? You have to. If you don't, this is the first question. That's why this is the first question. If you shouldn't be frustrated and there's a valid reason, that's it. You shouldn't be mad at him. And it's very easy not to be mad at someone who just got in a car accident. Like, oh man, I mean, okay, we missed the Harry Potter movie, but I'm just I'm glad you're okay, right? So, did you expect too much? Is the next question. Were your expectations too high? Do you expect your roommates to give you a bottle of water every time they walk into the door?
No.
Are you going to be mad at them because they didn't give you a bottle of water?
No.
And that's kind of ridiculous, right? You don't have to expect something like that. So are your expectations reasonable? It's obviously an extreme example, but sometimes we have unreasonable expectations of people, and we become frustrated. But you should take a step back. Maybe I shouldn't expect that of them.
Lower expectations.
Not necessarily that you shouldn't lower expectations, but maybe sometimes it's too high and it's unreasonable. It's not that you should have low expectations, we should have reasonable expectations. Okay? So is my expectation too high? If it's not, I expect my friend to pick me up at 11:20, okay, maybe 11:35, I'll still get there in time. That's a pretty reasonable expectation to have him show up. So, next question is very, very important, and is that where is this person coming from? Let's say this person that came 40 minutes late. You used to know him 3 years ago, he used to be doing drugs. He used to, if you tried to call him, he'd call you back 3 days later and say, hey, what's up? It's like, I tried calling you 3 days ago. It's like, oh yeah, I don't know. And then you make plans with him, and you confirm the plans 10 times. He said, I'm going to pick you up at 10 o'clock, and he calls you the next day. He's like, hey, what's up? It's like, you're supposed to pick me up at 10 o'clock yesterday. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. So this guy was all over the place, right? But this time, he was only 40 minutes late. Yes, obviously, I'm not saying that's a good thing. But where's this guy coming from? This guy used to be all over the place. Now at least he's showing up. And when he came, he apologized too. He's apologized for being late. This is the same guy who wouldn't even care if you didn't show up at all. He didn't care about your time. You don't like that?
No, I think this guy's I'm not doing it for the camera. I think this guy's wasting your time. I've had friends who I've lost friendships over because it's like you're stealing my time.
Right.
You're stealing my time. So why is
like I said,
you don't smoke up like one night of the week that you don't smoke up, you actually it doesn't. I don't know if I'm supposed to be arguing in this class, but I think that it's like.
No, I agree. You have to evaluate the situation. If it's something that's repeated behavior, then then it doesn't matter. You have the right to be upset. Maybe you shouldn't be friends with them. It's possible. You need to sit down and talk to them. But generally, it's important to know where somebody comes from. Let's say
he doesn't come from that heaven. He's usually on the mark.
If he's usually on the mark and he made a mistake, okay, then we go to.
Give him the benefit.
Then basically, you can be frustrated. Or you can be like, okay, this doesn't happen. This only happens once in a while. I'm not going to be upset. But you still should be upset. You're missing this is the premiere for Harry Potter. I mean, come on, often that happened 8 times. Nerd. So you have to know where are they coming from. It's important. I can give more examples of where knowing someone could come from, but I want to move on. Where